I want to thank all those who are here tonight for our annual induction into the Hall of Fame. It's something we started back in 1991 for those youngins, and for the old timers like Don Marshall, maybe they know some of these people. David Gottlieb, Ray Maloney, Harry Williams, and Sam Stern was back in 1991. We've continued to induct people yearly, and we're going to continue the tradition today. And I'm going to start with some a friend of mine who's going to help us with our first induction. Greg and Steve.
Thank you. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Pinball Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Um, you know, the next guy we're going to bring up here is part of a lot of classic games. His artwork is like became the standard, for a while. It was like, wow, that's pretty cool stuff. If I were to pick as an art director my top three favorite Doug Watson games, artwork wise, it would be, wait, I got it written down. Hang on. Uh, it would be Attack from Mars, Terminator 2, and Ticket Tack Toe. That's a joke. Maybe the third one should be his Drew Struzan inspired Indiana Jones. We lost Mr. Struzan this week, so thanks for the inspiration to a generation of illustrators. Um, so I've got Steve up here because Steve, Doug and Steve worked on quite a number of games together. Um, and when Steve came to me to work on Star Trek The Next Generation, he said, "I want to work with you, but I don't want any funny stuff." So I did a drawing of Captain Picard saying, "Make it so, it's not funny." So anyway, I also asked Pat McMahon, before I bring Steve up, I also asked Pat McMahon to say a few words. And Pat is a man of many words if you sit down with him and have a beer. So here we go. I didn't pre-read this, Doug. Trust me, I didn't. Douglas Thurman Watson. These are Pat's words. I had the pleasure of working with Doug at both Bally Pinball and Williams Electronics. We worked together and for a time played together. We were teammates on a co-rec volleyball league. I must say we looked spiffy in our matching shirts emblazoned with the team name and logo designed by Mr. Watson himself. The design was beautiful, the team name cringeworthy because it was called Jump and Jive. I want to blame Greg for that name, not sure though. At the end of the season, Doug was given the Most Improved Player Award. I brought home, this is Pat, I brought home the Best Beard honors. As the only player with a beard, the significance of this prestigious award did not go unappreciated. Doug was a relatively quiet individual, but his presence did not go unnoticed. Whether doing handstands, both in the office and on the volleyball court, working on dance steps, refining his swagger, or fighting with Tony Ramone for time in front of the mirror, he proved to be a unique piece of the art department puzzle. Doug tended to be a very calculating individual that rarely was put on blast via the dreaded dry erase board. The dry erase board, for those of you that don't know, was an ever changing billboard of sorts that reflected the goings on in the world of Williams. Generally speaking, one did not want to be depicted or even made reference to on this whiteboard. I can only think of a couple times that Mr. Watson made the board. Doug has a great sense of design, composition, and color theory. Sense of direction, not so much. Doug was once scheduled to attend a press proof at our printers facility located just north of Milwaukee in West Bend, Wisconsin. He donned his beret and set forth on his journey north. As everyone knows, Milwaukee is north of Chicago. What Doug was unaware of, not all roads lead to Milwaukee. His expressway of choice was the one nearest to his house, which did indeed run north and south. He took Route 53 north and was doing fine until the expressway ended at Lake Cook Road in Long Grove, Illinois. With no expressway to drive or signs to direct him on his quest to Milwaukee, he literally found himself at the crossroads with a decision to be made. Please keep in mind this was pre GPS. He did, however, realize that if he were to turn around and retrace his path, he might be able to navigate his way back home, which is exactly what he did. When asked why he missed the meeting, he simply stated that the road to Wisconsin ended and he went home. When you look at Doug's artwork, you can't help but notice his attention to detail. For the Attack from Mars game, he meticulously sculpted the alien creature he would feature on the game's backglass. I happen to take note of the fact that some of the muscular anatomy of the creature that was segmented looked a bit like corn. Thusly, the corn man from Mars was born for the whiteboard, chased by a flock of crows. All kidding aside, it was a pleasure to work with Doug, and I wish him all the best. Congratulations, buddy, on this well deserved honor. Best, Pat. Uh, Thanks, Pat. Pat couldn't be here tonight. Uh, but as a side note, take a look at my backlash for Revenge from Mars, and you'll see the woman carrying a bag of groceries. The entire bag of groceries is corn products. So that came from the whiteboard. Um, at this point, we couldn't leave out the fact that Doug worked alongside Steve Ritchie on several of Steve's biggest games. And let's go, Steve. What do you got?
Now, Doug, I don't have a book to read to you. Sorry, it's just like, it's just going to be off the cuff. It's like, what I think about your artwork, I think about the word bitchin'. The things you drew for me were bitchin'. And we talked about it many times. I was blown away by Black Knight 2000, all graphics, but so cool. Um, I loved that. I also loved making Terminator with you. That was fun as hell. Terminator 2, such a nice looking game, and I don't know, definitely helped sell some there. Um, Loved Attack from Mars. What can I say? Demolition Man. These aren't my games, but there's a couple more that you've done with me. I'm trying to think of what they are. Can you remember? F-14, right. That was very nice. I love that game. I have one in my living room and it's completely restored right now. But now you got to take the good with the bad. I think you're a great artist, but I got to tell a story, okay? Because no one will believe it except maybe him. We were going to do Black Knight 2000. Doug's a man of huevos. That word, okay? He uh he went up to Ken Fidesz and he said, we're going to do Black Knight 2000 and I'm going to need a suit of armor and a broadsword and a lot of tarps around everything. And then someone could pitch watermelons at me and I could cut them in half. Anyway, it didn't happen, but I wish it would have. I would have taken some juice on me, whatever it took. Anyway, I just want to say thank you very much for your fine art. It's always going to be, you know, in my mind, always. Just some great stuff. And it definitely, I mean, it's Doug Watson. The middle name should be Pinball.
Come to my front.
Doug, why don't you step up and accept your award? Welcome to the Pinball Expo Hall of Fame.
Yes. Bag of goodies.
That's the way it works. And here it is, the Hall of Fame award.
I had no idea that this was going to happen today. Nobody gave me a hint. In fact, I didn't know I was going to be here until Rob grabbed my hand on my way in this afternoon and said, "Show up at 5:30." I can't even tell you why. I To say I'm flattered would be an understatement. Um, I appreciate all the great talents I got a chance to work with. Steve being one of them, Brian Eddy being one of those others. My career in pinball was 17 years long. I never wanted it to stop. It was the most fun job an artist could possibly have on planet Earth. Um, can I take questions? I don't want to tell stories.
Too late. Too much going on.
I have too much going on.
There's,
All right, then I have to wrap this to move on with the ceremony somehow, I guess.
yep. But let me give you your award. Dr. Schellberg. There you go, Doug. Here, guys, go both sides. Here you go. All right, Doug, one more thing. I have one more presentation for Doug. Doug, this is something I produced last year, and I was very pleased with the results of it, but it's the Harry Mabs Award. So Harry Mabs was the inventor of the flipper, and it reads a Pinball Lifetime Achievement Award, Integrity, Vision, and Leadership. And this goes to you, Doug, to wear with pride. And thank you for your years of bringing the art to the industry. Thank you so much. Okay, is Joe Kamenkow here?
We're here. We come as a pair. You can't get one without the other these days. I am here today with Gary Stern to honor the newest member of the Pinball Hall of Fame, Tim Seckel. Hello, Tim. Tim Tim came to Gary and I around 1990. I got a phone call and a message that went kind of like this about 35 years ago. Hey, I'm a college student. I'm in Kansas. I just designed a parking garage in the shape of a pinball machine. And my architecture professor said, it's a really nice garage, but have you ever thought of a career in pinball? And I got this young man calls me up and says, hey, is there any chance that you would have room for an intern? We didn't have interns. We hardly had employees. And I said, well, do I have to pay you? He goes, well, not very much. I said, you're hired. So Tim came and spent a summer with us and never left. Though Gary and I did make him promise he would finish his degree. And Tim became a vital person in our success in the 90s. Not only did he get his hands on everything and become a vital person to help on every game we were making from that point forward, Tim also designed some extraordinarily wonderful pinballs. His first being Hook, that had an amazing ramp. There's one on the floor out there today. If you get a chance to play it, it is as wonderful as you could possibly hope a shot to be. And the added benefit of the game, because Tim, it was his first game and he got to take one home, is I was Peter Pan and Gary was Hook, so he gets to look at us all the time. He went on to do Rocky and Bullwinkle, the WWF Royal Rumble game, Maverick, and Last Action Hero. He left us for greener pastures to work for Gil Pollock, developed a product there, Brooks and Dunn, that unfortunately the company didn't succeed before the game went out. But then Tim also found a career in the gaming industry, and it's funny, years later, we find ourselves working together again with him in a senior position at Aristocrat Gaming, helping create our newest and best slot machines. Tim is an extraordinarily nice person. Um, he found a wonderful woman for a while in Chicago and had beautiful children with them. And Tim, I just can't say how blessed I am to have the honor, along with Gary, to give you this honor today. He wore his Daddy East jacket today, which brought a smile to my face. And Gary, I think you've got a couple of things you want to say as well.
Well, I just want to congratulate you. Joe, of course, is always taken all the important stuff and covered them. But I think the first thing is to say you should come up here and receive your award, which is very well deserved.
Stand up, you guys. Come on. This is an awesome pinball designer. You don't get many of them these days.
My other question is, what happened to your hair? You were such a young man, and look at that.
I know, right?
Yeah, look at it.
We got the same color hair now.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. You can take my place.
Presented to Tim Seckel in commemoration of your induction into the Pinball Expo Hall of Fame, October 17th, 2025. From Rob Burke, all of his daughters and son and wife. Congratulations, Tim.
Very good. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we need
Well, let's get a Jim, we need some pictures.
yeah,
Here.
yeah.
Jim, you got to take one on my phone so I can send it to Australia for all of our Australians to get in there, Rob.
You should explain why you're sending to Australia.
All right, use my phone there, Jim. Okay, let's try not to airdrop to the entire room of naked pictures. You're doing that again. Just kidding. That's a joke.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Fully loaded. Got all the patches on it.
He just took 3 pictures of himself, everyone. Let's try it again.
Well, he'll remember this that way. Yeah.
Okay, come on, Rob. Get back in there. Don Marshall, you should be up here doing this.
Got it.
Very good. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, everybody. Tim works at Aristocrat Gaming now, and you'll see a lot of his new products on the floor of Vegas casinos.
You ought to get this nice stuff.
Go in there, Tim.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. Hey, so I agree with Doug. It'd be nice if somebody would have told you ahead of time. Complete surprise. Completely dumbfounded, honored, humbled, and boy, does time fly. Man, it feels like it was not that long ago. When, yeah, I was a college intern in architecture, planned on coming up and spending a summer, and it turned into, I don't even know, a whole career, you know? Um, and so, it certainly doesn't go without saying how much Joe has led, shepherded, guided. Um, he's been a great mentor even through today, working and making slot machines. So thank you. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
George Gomez, would you please come up front?
Let's see what I got.
So do mine first and then do your
Okay, yeah.
routine.
And then the other guys are in here?
Yep.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Um, I'm a little hoarse. We had about 1,500 people come through the factory today, and I started talking at 9 o'clock in the morning, and the last group left at 3. Then I ran over here and did some more stuff. But so this one is going to be, I think, a bit of a surprise to everybody because I didn't even tell any of the guys on my team until very, very late. Um, in 1995, I made my second pinball machine, Johnny Mnemonic, which not particularly well received at the time, but now there's people on the floor that come up to me and tell me how amazing it is. I said, funny how times change. There's a guy that called me. I was in my office at Williams. A guy picked up the phone and called me, and he said, "Hey man, I just bought this game, and I love it." And and he knew all kinds of geeky stuff about the game, and I didn't know who this guy was. So I literally I thanked him, and then hung up the phone. He said he worked at Midway, and I was like, okay. So I went and asked around. I said, "Hey, who is this guy?" I said, "Well, he's working over at Home Entertainment in California. He's working on Midway stuff for the home." And I said, "Oh, okay." Well, it turns out that this guy, he went on to a career after he left Midway, went on to manage a very large technology group at DirecTV. And, he at some point got bored or tired, and he called me up one day and he said, "Hey, I want to come and make pinball machines again." And so he is the brains of our operating system. He mentors my young engineers. He is sort of a guardian of the notion of engineering pinball machines. Mr. Mark Guidarelli. You really didn't see that coming, did you? No. You were very engaged in conversation.
Thank you. Um, is it spelled right? Yeah, it's spelled right even. I never get surprised, and I'm surprised. So I am really surprised. Um, Thank you. Yeah, as George said, that's kind of what happened. So way back when I worked in 93, 94 at Williams Home. Wait, no, we were Williams Entertainment. And I got the privilege to, yeah, I got the privilege to help port Mortal Kombat 3 with another engineer named David Schwartz, who's gone on to great things in a lot of places. We did Mortal Kombat 3 for the PlayStation launch. It was almost a launch game. And then Trilogy for the Nintendo 64, which had lots of challenges and fun stories. And we almost lived in Japan for 6 months, but we ended up being able to get dev systems. And I loved pinball, and I tried to get into pinball. And Larry DeMar offered me a job, but then I decided not to take it. And then Larry blacklisted me for a while, but Larry forgave me. But I was always friendly with the pinball department. And then I went back to Activision. Then I went to Williams in Chicago. Ken Fedesna hired me, and I helped with NFL Blitz and a couple of the last gasp of coin-op games. But I was always friendly with the pinball group, and I actually, some of the graphics stuff that I wrote for Mortal Kombat is the graphics subsystem for Pinball 2000. I don't know if you even know that, George. So I work with Graham West on all of that. And then when everything went to heck in the coin op industry, I went to do console games, and then that got boring. And I got a real job, and I ended up being head of a group for DirecTV that made the HD TV revolution happen. We did the set-top box, the DVRs for HD TV. And then I helped us sell ourselves to AT&T, laid myself off, retired, and then helped Keith a little bit with his Archer homebrew. When he came out here, I decided, what the heck, he can't be the only one doing fun with pinball. So, like George said, I said, do you need some help? And then a summer fling, which is what it was supposed to be, has turned into almost 8.5 years. So I I always describe what we do as being at the circus in a good way. It's a family like a circus, but we're kind of like carny folks because we do everything. Gary once told me a properly staffed pinball company is on the verge of bankruptcy because to do it correctly, the amount of staff cannot work with the economics. So we all wear a lot of hats, but it's the most fun job and the most frustrating job I've ever had, guys. So thank you. And you surprised me. Congratulations, buddy. Thank you.
Oh, and your congratulations. Well, health is it.
Really shocked.
All right, that's them right there. Yeah. Yeah. So also um, going back in time to 1996, I had just done a game called NBA Fast Break, and the company sent me to what was it then called the Wild West Pinball Show. And at the Wild West Pinball Show, we had a whole bunch of fast breaks, and there was a tournament going on, and there was a young man that won the tournament. And I thought he was 16. He tells me he was in his 20s. But that young man was Keith Elwin. And you fast forward to, I don't know, it must have been, how long has it been, Keith? 8 years? Something like that. I noticed this, Whitewood homebrew prototype that I've been hearing about based on the Archer TV series. And I start watching all the YouTube videos, and I'm completely amazed at the level of completion and detail in this game. And so I noticed that, I start talking to guys in the building. I talked to Guido. I talked to a couple of guys, and they go, oh, yeah, that's Keith Elwin. Oh, that's the kid that won the tournament back in 1996. I know him. So we called him up and flew him and the prototype to Chicago, and we all played it. And we decided to give him a shot. And similar, around the same time, now I've got a designer, but I got to staff a team around the designer. And Dwight Sullivan comes to see me, and he said, hey, there's a guy I know, and he is looking for work. He used to be at WMS and making slot machines, and he says his name is Rick Nagel. I said, well, I know Rick Nagel. Rick Nagel was a software engineer when I worked on NBA Ballers. So we called Rick and brought him on. One of the other engineers, I needed a mechanical guy, and Elliot Eisman, I think Harrison was already there, but Elliot Eisman recommended Harrison Drake, and we hired Harrison. And I put these guys together, and all of my my senior counsel, if you will, the guys that I go to when I need advice, said you can't do that. You can't put 3 new guys together. They're going to crash and burn. And I decided that, there was a moment in time when I was on a team at Williams Electronics where, hey, it was me and 2 other new guys, and we figured it out. So I decided I was going to go with my gut and let them be who they were. That team, plus one more addition, an artist that Greg brought on, a guy named Jeremy Packer, Um, and that team literally became the Monster Makers, figuratively and literally, with Jurassic Park, Jaws, and King Kong, not to mention Iron Maiden, a little bit of work on Bond's 60th, which was actually coded by Mark Panaccio back there. I'm probably missing something. Did I forget one? Avengers. Avengers. I always forget that. Gentlemen, please join me up here. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. The Monster Makers. By the way, this young man right here, um, J. Harrison Drake, he the third. We always tell him that he really missed his calling. He should have been like a stockbroker or hedge fund guy or something. Who is called J. Harrison the third? J. Harrison Drake the third. And you all have seen the Drake Investment Building in Godzilla. And of course, I've got a whole series of tycoons here. Mr. Nagel is the head of Nagel Oil. They funded the King Kong expedition into the jungle. So the Nagel Oil building lives in New York. Gentlemen, congratulations. So happy to have you. Rick Nagel and I sold 1 million games back when that actually meant something.
Thank you, sir. And it's spelled right.
Here's a tricky picture.
Just want to add, though, I was the glue. Yeah.
One of you guys need one of these?
George, thank you, Cameron.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And now we resume our seminar program with a couple other Hall of Fame inductees of the past. So, Pat and Larry, are you ready?